It was the third or fourth week of camp. We were about where teams are right now. Right before the season, everybody's pissing and moaning. We had a different coach come up and give a motivational speech in the afternoon each day. He was our running backs coach at the time by the name of Derek Foster. Coach Foster came up there, toughness and pushing through. He got real razzed up as his speech progressed. We had a video coordinator named Rocky. He finishes his speech and he goes, "Hit it, Rock!" And Set It Off by Boosie Badass played. As a young white man, it was my first time hearing that song, Set It Off. Yeah, we finna set it off. You heard me? I'm finna put you in the trash bag. Tired of all these knowing me right now, for real. You wanna talk shit? You wanna run your mouth? You want some gangsters strut your motherfucking house? We'll set this job. Yeah. And that was my first time hearing Set It Off. At Samford University, it was the third or fourth week of camp. We were about where teams are right now. Right before the season, everybody's pissing and moaning. We had a different coach come up and give a motivational speech in the afternoon each day. He was our running backs coach at the time by the name of Derek Foster. Coach Foster came up there, toughness and pushing through. He got real razzed up as his speech progressed. We had a video coordinator named... All right, here we go. Here we go. Okay. Is it gay if I eat this in front of y'all? I've been fasting all day. Okay, is that gay if I eat this? I don't give a fuck. Oh! Yes, sir. I'll try to chew away from the mic here. Hopefully we'll be through this thing in a hot minute. Yeah, I mean, is it gay? Maybe. You know, you eat it like this. You know what I mean? It's a great Friday to be alive. We got God's famous potassium supplement right here. The gayest delivery method you can find. Because you can do this. You can say, you know, or you can just send it, you know, and take it down all the way through. You can really send it. But that's really how I prefer to eat it. Is that gay? If it is, that's fine. I can accept that. So we're starting the Friday off, or we're wrapping the Friday up. And we had a game last night. I'm about to finish this banana, and then we'll get into it. I'm gonna throw a Lucy in my lip. Did y'all see that? That was some gluck shit right there, boy. You know what I mean? All right. Where are my Zins at? Oh, they're over here. Sorry, y'all. All right. All right. Done being gay for the moment. Wash it down. Alrighty. Cheers. Oh. Alright. Let's get serious. Let's get that shit cranked up. Let's get our posture good. You know what I mean? Puff that chest out. Welcome to the show. This is In the Jar. I am Dupe, and we are here on a funky Friday after what many people are calling a really bad Thursday night football game. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the success that the Seattle Seahawks seem to be having and the culture wins that their first-year coach, Mike McDonald, has been able to instill in them. We got transfer portal talk. We got Texas Tech versus BYU talk. Who in the hell would think that this would be a marquee game in Week 11 of college football in November? Not me. So we'll talk a bit more about that game. We got a lot more stuff that we're going to touch on. Was the Broncos game really that bad? Was it really that bad? I watched the first half. I speed ran the first half. And I thought the Raiders' defense looked very impressive. I thought they were playing fast. They weren't really missing assignments. They were making tackles. Now, there were apparently 30-mile-an-hour winds in Denver. So that definitely played a factor. I mean, the Broncos punter in that first half was was swinging it absolutely disgusting, and not in a good way. He wasn't swinging his foot good, and he wasn't making good contact on the ball, and I think the wind had something to do with the punting. We saw the Raiders punter bobble one of his long snaps that was coming his way. So, look, 10-7. Everybody's calling this an ugly game. Okay, if you don't have good offense, or excuse me, see, even I'm affected by the bias. If you play good defense against a team with high expectations on offense, then then it was a bad offensive game. It was an ugly offensive game. Come on, dude. I thought the Raiders, again, I just watched the first half. I squeezed it in while I was producing today's show. I squeeze it in. I'll throw the replay on, run it at 2x, then get a general feel for what was going on. I'm busy most evenings, so I miss Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Football 10 times out of 10. I got to go back and speed run it. So I watched the first half, and you have this Broncos team who is now 8-2, best record in the league for now, and you're getting booed off of your own field. You got the Bowbirds out, dude. I mean, and I will say, it was a win. Apparently, it was a windy-ass night in Denver, which I think played a big factor in people calling this game ugly. But what I will say is that the special teams were drastically affected last night. The punters played really badly. And I'm sure that's what they'll tell you, the wind. So Broncos go to 8-2, best record in the NFL, 7-game win streak for Denver. They start 1-2 and now hold the best record in the league. Obviously, the defense is elite. Defense is great. Nick Bonito, 13.5 sacks in 2024. He's obviously on pace to eclipse that probably soon this year. He's a guy that's looking probably to get a big payday. And it just was 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out. It really, last night's game in Denver, really, what with 30-mile-an-hour winds, really had to be a punter's nightmare. Complete, and quarterback's nightmare. That's why I think they were going 3 and out a lot. But that's literally the only factor. I thought, and again, it's really easy to say this defense played great because the ball was getting blown around the field, windy. It's really easy to say defense plays great in a windy game. I get that. But what I will say is that no matter the conditions externally, you got to be ready to play football. You got to be ready to do your job. If I'm Bo Nix, I'm probably out there. I'm probably getting told what the weather conditions are hours in advance, and I'm making sure I get my butt out there hours before the game, even if it's cold, to throw around and make sure that I'm able to adjust my throws to whatever's going on. That's all you can do. And I'm sure he did do that, and it was still tough to adjust. But I'm in the camp of this is a football game that was affected by the external conditions, but under optimal conditions, you can't control. I'm trying to figure out the point I'm fucking making here. You got to be able to brush off the external conditions and play ball, do your job. That's what I'm saying. So with that, you got to give the Raiders defense credit. Not so much take away from the Broncos offense. Now, There's been a narrative that's been established. How do I say that? You guys get what I mean. Like these Broncos, they start very slow, and they have every game, and it's like, would you rather watch a team that's winning ugly and booing your 8-2 best record in the league Broncos, or would you rather be 5-5? I'm taking 8-2 every single time. Dude. Wins are wins, and we talked about this earlier in the week on the show. The Broncos win ugly. The Bengals lose pretty. My Bengals, the team that I'm a fan of, they lose pretty. And I know what it feels like to care about the outcome of a team that you love and have them play the most masterful games on offense and still find a way to lose. I've dealt with it, and everybody in Cincinnati has dealt with it for the last 2 years. I would much rather, coming from a Bengals fan, take it from me, Broncos fans, I would much rather win ugly than lose pretty. I know the grass is greener, but it's black and white here. That's what I love about football. It's a microcosm of life, except you get a finite, certain outcome. You're not always guaranteed a finite, certain outcome in life. That's what's cool. That's why people are drawn to sports, because we're drawn to things that are finite, certain. And sports are black and white. It's outcome that matters. Which, to some degree, it's like, that's a bit contrary. But anyways, I'm going on a philosophical tangent. I would much rather win ugly, like the Broncos are winning. I had my AI on the outline create a hot take angle to each topic of discussion that we hit on today. So I don't condone or endorse any of these hot takes proactively, but I might read it and agree with it. So let's read the first one around the Broncos-Raiders game. We just brought this up. I'd rather watch a 5-5 team that's entertaining than an 8-2 team that looks like practice. The Broncos team wins ugly, but they keep winning. Does that mean that Sean Payton is a genius, or are we just overlooking systemic offensive problems because the record says 8-2? Now, obviously, I'd take the 8-2 team, but it does ask a really good question, asking if Sean Payton is a genius finding a way to win these games, because it's very hard to win games in pro football. It's borderline impossible. Greetings from Argentina. Thanks for popping in. Shout out to Luciano05. Appreciate you, brother or sister. So, I don't know, man. I don't know if we'll ever get the answer to that is Sean Payton a genius question or not. If they hoist the Lombardi trophy, it'll be really I don't think they will. But if the Denver Broncos did hoist that Lombardi trophy this year, everybody would be saying Sean Payton's a genius. When really, and that's the thing I was kind of getting at philosophically about football. You do have finite outcomes. You win or you lose. Damn it, I lost my train of thought. I had some good juice in there. You'll never really know if Sean Payton was a genius or not, or if the wind just happened to blow the tip of the football 1 centimeter and it changed the outcome of the biggest play of the season, caught or not caught, So you'll never really know. That's how I feel about is Sean Payton a genius question at 8-2. Black and white, you say, yeah, they're 8-2. They found a way to win, and he's running the ship. But there might be a degree of luck involved as well. There always is. And I don't even like to call it luck. It's just nature is random. Even talking about the goddamn wind. It's random. And it's not personal. It does not bow to anybody. I'm talking the external conditions or the way the ball spins or a guy's ability to keep his balance or not in a big moment where he can't get tackled. There's so many variables in football, but any kinetic sport with a ball, there's a degree of which none of us can control. Player, coach, things just happen. Some people refer to that as fate. Other people refer to it as coincidence or chance. And I think it's more on the coincidental side a lot of times. But to counter that, and I don't mean to get philosophical here, but this is a really good train of thought we're riding right now, is that, and I might have just lost it talking about it. Belief is very strong. Belief is the strongest drug on planet Earth. And the thing about it is it's not worldly. It's spiritual. It's unseen belief. But if I believe in the depths of my soul that my team is going to find a way to win, that belief is actually so powerful that it starts to affect the fabric of quantum physics. So if I really believe that my team's going to find a way to win every single game, then nature's actually going to coincide with that. It's going to respond to those frequencies you're giving off with those thoughts and those feelings. We're very powerful as human beings. But I think they feel that way in the Broncos locker room. Look, it don't fucking matter what's going on. We're going to find a way to win. And Seattle's culture, the Seahawks culture, has been mentioned a lot on other podcasts, media. Specifically, Pat McAfee was talking about it, so I wanted to dive into that a little bit. But again, you go back to belief. I think the biggest part of a culture of a football team has to be centered around belief. It's almost like a delusional thing where if you think in the depths of your heart, I'm him, I'm him, I'm him, and everything I want to go my way is going to go my way. And if it doesn't, then it's not personal. I'm just going to keep believing that the next thing is going to go my way. That's very powerful. And I think that's a really, really important aspect for a head coach to build a culture, is a culture of strong, genuine belief. Seattle's 11-1 on the road. Elite Sam Darnold season. Obviously, and this outline says that Sam Darnold's thriving after Minnesota struggles. He balled in Minnesota last year. So I need to scold my AI here for putting out subjective inaccuracy. Sam Darnold played great in Minnesota last year. I was shocked they let him walk. Now we got J.J. McCarthy. Played great on Sunday. Getting a bit trashed on the internet for the whole fake demon act he's doing when he's standing there in the locker room. They give him the game ball, and he's like, this is my alter ego, 9. Demon home. Demon home. He ain't fooling nobody. That boy ain't no demon. He's you can see it on him. That's I don't have much more to corroborate that point that he's a fake demon, other than what I saw looked like a bit of an act in the locker room. I put him on the thumbnail doing that face to last episode. Sorry about yesterday, by the way. I went live and I look at the chat and it says live stream or live chat disabled for YouTube, and I was like, oh shit, did I say something? Did I get banned from having a live chat or something? But it just scheduled the stream. It didn't go live, and I'm trying to figure out how to get the video file to put on YouTube. But I feel like when we go live with the next show, we're talking about sports. It's such a current event, moving fast type of thing to cover that it might not even makes sense to upload yesterday's episode when we're live on YouTube today. But that's just something I'm thinking about in my brain every couple of moments. So really the narrative with Seattle is that first year head coach Mike McDonald. He's got a background with the Ravens and kind of building that gang. He had a reputation, Mike McDonald did with the Ravens, of being that guy that kind of builds that gang type of mentality. You know what I mean? Like rally to the ball, fuck them up like some dogs in all 11 hats, doing it every play. You know, that Ravens defense was hard hitting. I know it ain't this year, but I think that's because they sorely miss Mike McDonald over there in Baltimore. And Baltimore still got a great chance to win the AFC North because Cincinnati's terrible and they shouldn't be. Yeah, so J.J. McCarthy threw 4 touchdowns, according to my outline. Again, I have to really hammer this AI. I take transcripts from other shows that talk about football, and I tell the AI to distill the talking points into my outline so that I make sure I don't miss anything for you guys on here on the show. And I bet I'm having to get on it the last couple of days and be like, make sure you give me accurate facts, motherfucker, or else I'm gonna bang on your head. You know what I mean? I'm going to bet that was good soundboard timing. I've been struggling to get the timing right on the soundboard, but we got it right there. You know what I mean? I love that fucking sound. I love it. Excuse my French. Sorry for cussing. Okay. Yeah, so insights on the Seahawks culture. This is something that was brought to my attention. Culture talk gets overused, but this team actually has it. This is according to my outline. Compared to Patriots, some guys coming in on Tuesday off days. That's good. That's real good. But then we get to, are you showing up on Tuesdays and actually getting good work done, or are you showing up on Tuesdays because it looks good and the media's going to talk about you? That's kind of assuming the worst of people. I'm sure they actually love their job and they love showing up to the facility, and it's a never-ending quest to get better. It's all about curiosity. You know what I mean? Compared to Denver, booing their 8-2 team, and that's the title of the episode. I thought that'd be nice and clickbaity. The worst 8-2 team in the NFL. I don't know. Like, you can't really call a team with an 8-2 record bad, but if you compare them to other 8-2 teams, maybe they'd be the worst. So maybe that's a truthful statement. I'm not sure, but the win definitely affected that game last night. But I think you should play football regardless of external conditions. You know, you got to figure out a way to do your job, especially as a professional. I've never been a professional football player. I will have to say that. Difference between forced team building and organic brotherhood. And I think that's, listen, when you're talking about forced team building, you think about a group of guys that don't like each other. That's what comes to mind for me. If team building is an activity that you feel like is forced, that you don't enjoy, then your general manager probably didn't do the best job he could do. Because here's the psychological component of scouting. This is why NFL teams ask guys what their favorite flavor of ice cream is in their draft interviews. You ever hear about those wild draft interview questions that executives ask these prospects at the combine? They like pin them in the corner and grab them by the collar, and they're like, "What color is my underwear? Where are they? Where are they? Batman, where are they?" Who the fuck's here? Is that my doorbell? Somebody just rang my doorbell. I'm doing a show, okay? I don't have time for that. And my dog didn't even bark. I've never had a visitor during the show before. I kind of don't know what to do, because I could get up and say, it's probably not that important. I'm giving all of myself to you guys. What if it was my neighbor and he was like, "Hey, I hear you yelling. Please stop." What if that was it? That would be bad, but that's okay. We're gonna stay put. Whoever it is can wait. So if the general manager does a good job, he's going to be able to psychologically profile guys really, really well. What the fuck? Somebody, y'all hear that? I'm not getting up. I'm doing a show. You know what I mean? Somebody's ringing my doorbell. If they ring it a third time, I don't know what I'll do. Because nothing's that urgent. Okay? Unless I doubt it. The house is insulated. Nobody's ever complained about loud music or me yelling, "Where are they?" Like Batman. You know what I mean? You're going to have to follow my rules if you want to save one of them. Why haven't you barked? My dog just walks in here. Doorbells drive him nuts, and this guy's rang the doorbell twice. And my faithful protection dog hasn't barked one time. I need to get a gun. That's what I need to get a Glock 19. Oh, my God. All right. I'm going to go check on this. You guys hang. Somebody's rang my doorbell 3 times. This has never happened in the middle of a show. This might be an opportunity. If it's a neighbor or something, whoever it is, I got to tell them I'm live. I'm doing a show. Okay. Hey, brother, I'm doing a podcast right now. It's all right. Yeah, I got that. I'm not sure if I got it on live right now. Sorry, brother. Okay. It was a fucking internet salesman, dude. Fuck! God, that pissed me off. And I told him I was live. I don't know if he picked up on the mic or not. I told him I was live, and he kept trying to fucking sell me, dude. I respect the hustle, but god damn it, and he was asking me like when he could come back, an hour or whatever. I get the sales grind. The door-to-door grind is tough because it's not personal. There's a lot outside of it that you can't control, a lot outside of you that you can't control. And you might walk up on a guy that's doing a live football podcast and asking his viewers to subscribe to the channel if they're not subscribed already, because he wants to hire a producer, and in order to hire a producer, he's got to generate income off the YouTube channel, and in order to generate income off the YouTube channel, you got to subscribe. Bang bang. How was that? At least hit the goddamn like button, motherfuckers. All right. So here we go. Yeah, he fucking rang the doorbell 3 times. Listen, I can respect a persistent sales guy. I've never had that happen on the show. I was a bit bamboozled because I was doing the Batman thing where I was like, "Where are they?" And I thought maybe I was so loud that my neighbor was like, "Hey, could you shut the fuck up, man?" And then we'd have to start doing the Joker impression, because that's a bit quieter. Chaos. Man, I might have to make some girl watch that movie, man. That's a very masculine movie. Girls hate watching that Joker movie for whatever reason. And it's hit or miss on the Joker impression. Sometimes girls absolutely hate it. They get creeped out. That's when it's fun a little bit more. Or sometimes it really gets them going. They're like, how do you sound like Heath Ledger like that? And I just tell them, upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos. Why so serious? Yeah, so it looks like we got maybe a Broncos fan in the chat. Nah, they will be fine. No one said a word about how bad Stroud was last year. Sophomore slumps happen. People just love to hate on Knicks. It's only a second year. Yeah, and I want to clarify here. I was clickbaiting a bit with the title and the thumbnail. I think they're going to be fine. And Trevor in the chat here, might have just tuned in, I'll tell Trevor again. I'm a Bengals fan, and the Bengals find a way to lose pretty. And let me tell you, from a Bengals fan, I would much rather my team win ugly than lose pretty. Lose pretty is the most frustrating thing, and it's been the life of Bengals fans for the last 2 years. So that was my rant on that in short. By the way, if you want to watch the replay of these episodes, you can get it on any audio platform, big or small. That's updated daily. And you can also get replays on YouTube, Kick, Twitch. We stream this thing vertically on YouTube because it helps us find new viewers, new fans of the show in the shorts feed. So once our show is at a certain size, we will start going live with the horizontal, make it a better posthumous viewer experience. But we got to get to a certain size before I'm willing to do that. So subscribe. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. Look, so we got a hot take to unpack for each set of topics that we cover today. We're already at 31 minutes. That's beautiful. The Seahawks might, this is the hot take, and again, I don't endorse these hot takes. This is AI-generated hot takes based on what we're talking about. Sometimes I might agree with it. Sometimes I might refute it and claim the name of Jesus Christ. Okay? Here it is for the Seahawks. Hot take to unpack. The Seahawks might actually win the Super Bowl because they're having fun. Not because they're the most talented, because guys want to be there. That's becoming rarer. And again, I don't disagree with that statement at all. I think what happens when you do a good job as a GM is you're able to profile guys psychologically just as well as you're able to profile them athletically and in terms of football skill. It has to be all three: football skills, athletic ability, and psychological profile. Now, you're never going to be able to completely profile a guy during the draft process. I understand that. But there's definitely questions being asked in those NFL front offices. It's just like any other hiring someone for any other job. A thing I've heard companies interviewing for regular jobs consider is, would this guy fit in with our current team? And I've actually been turned away for jobs because people say, oh, we just don't think you would have been a good fit with the team. You are awesome. No, I'm just kidding. But that's part of the job of the GM. There's also a big role for the coach there, because even if guys don't behaviorally mesh, there's still a way to set an environment in the facility where guys are able to flourish together. Think about a fraternity. You get a group of kids that pledge your fraternity, and some of them might be big alpha meatheads that have two thoughts go through their head each day, and then some of the pledges might include some scrawny, top-heavy fade, Harry Potter wearing glasses, intellectual. And if you haze those motherfuckers together and you haze them right, they'll be boys for life. I just outlined a real-life scenario because I'm boys with some of those guys that I got hazed with. I'm not saying in the NFL that head coaches need to make sure that they're hazing, but there has to be some degree of earning your place in the tribe. You have to bring something, whether it's mental toughness. That's the easiest one to bring. That's what I felt like I brought, was being able to weather any storm and keep the guys going. But enough talking about myself. So that's the job of the coach. You have an environment of guys that's accountable, but they're also creative, playful, have fun at doing what they do. God damn, that was loud, huh? Wow, we are humming. I don't even know if we're going to make it through the entire podcast outline today. Okay. Okay, let's get into college football playoff scenarios. How about that? We're at the time of the year where we can start talking about what the college football playoff might look like. So in my outline here, I've got 3 terrifying chaos scenarios. Scenario 1 is titled The Big Ten Conundrum. If multiple teams go 9-3, Oregon, USC, Washington, Iowa, Michigan, Ohio State, all possible, then what? Ohio State and Indiana, if things go the way they're supposed to go, will get buys. So that's a weird list of teams. Like, to put Ohio State in a group of Big Ten teams that could go 9-3, I don't believe that to happen. There were some really complimentary comments for Ryan Day, the head coach at Ohio State, from former Ohio State head coach Urban Meyer this past week. And the similarity that Urban Meyer shared with the great teams he coached at Florida and the modern-day Ryan Day Ohio State Buckeyes is that you always make Tuesdays tougher than Saturdays. I used to hate Tuesday practice in college. I used to hate it because we had that same philosophy. Tuesday in college football is the day that you bang. Sometimes, if it's a bye week, you'll wear full pads on that Tuesday. Normally, you wear shells. And there's different levels to how hard you go into college football practice, right? If you're wearing shoulder pads and helmet with shorts, that's called thud. So you don't take anybody to the ground, but you can still really bust balls, paws. And sometimes people incidentally go to the ground, but a lot of times some programs might go full pads on a Tuesday when you have a game. And the pace of practice is different. You got coaches on your ass telling you to be more physical, especially, so I played backer. The drill where you made your name, I feel like, at our program, I went to a small FCS program in Alabama. I felt like where you made your name as a linebacker were Tuesday inside drill practices. Tuesday practices in the inside drill period. Inside drill is everybody up front, offensive line, defensive line, quarterback, running back, one receiver, and he's pretty tight to the formation. It's a tighter field in that drill sometimes. And then you got your D-line and your linebackers. And maybe you have one corner DB covering the receiver. But it's all run plays. It's all run plays. And all you're doing in inside drill is run fits. And this drill was by far the most physical drill I ever experienced in college football. Even though you're not always going to the ground. Some practices we'd be fully padded and go to the ground. It wasn't often. I'm sure in today's college football, they probably scaled that back even more, full padded practices. But inside drill was the most physical, and I just always remember we would scale it back a little bit Wednesday, and then Thursday would be significantly lighter than Tuesday, and then Friday would be a walkthrough. You get ready to play on Saturday. But Tuesday. Say Tuesday again, and you won't see Wednesday. Norbit. Tuesday practices in college football were always the toughest, and so Urban Meyer was saying that Ryan Day runs Ohio State the same way he ran Florida, which is you got to make Tuesdays harder than Saturdays. And Urban Meyer said that he would actually make sure to walk into the locker room after practice, and if he didn't see guys on the floor exhausted, that practice probably wasn't hard enough. I remember those days as well as a player when the workout or the practice was so grueling that all you could do for 30 minutes was lay on the floor by your locker. And these locker rooms, they got these soft floors, I think, for that reason. It's like soft carpeted floor. In our locker room, it was at least. And I've seen pictures of other locker rooms that look like they have similar material on the floor where you could just lay down by your locker exhausted. I had something else I was going to bring up there, but I just thought that was interesting, the way Ryan Day's running Ohio State that way. Because you got more and more regulations around how many practices you can do padded, how many hours the players have to be out there, all this stuff. There's so many restrictions. It's getting harder and harder to be a coach. But anyways, college football playoff scenarios. If there are 5 teams in the Big Ten at 9-3, do any of them make it? Because you got all these SEC teams. This would be, my outline says, this would be a PR disaster for the Big Ten to only have Indiana and Ohio State in the playoff. And I agree, because if only Ohio State and Indiana make it to the college football playoff, then everyone like me is going to say that the Big Ten is top heavy. So I guess it's possible. I haven't followed Oregon. I haven't followed USC, Washington, Iowa, or Michigan really this year. But it seems possible that all those teams go 9-3, 2, 4, 5 of them, 5 Big Ten teams. And there's a potential scenario in the college football playoff that none of those 5 teams, Michigan, USC, Washington, Oregon, Iowa, Michigan, make it at 9-3. It's almost like when college football was just the BCS national championship, and you lost one game, you might be out of contention because it's just number 1 versus number 2 at the end of the year. So you really have to be undefeated to make that top 2. Some teams would make it at 1 loss. The only team I've ever saw win the national championship, let alone go to it, with 2 losses was Louisiana State University Tigers in 2007. Matt Flynn was their quarterback. Les Miles was the head coach. And LSU lost to Kentucky. At Kentucky, I was there. It's one of my favorite football memories of all time. And they lost to Darren McFadden in Arkansas. That was the only 2-loss team I can ever remember making it to the national championship in the BCS era. And they won it. They had big Glenn Dorsey there at a 3-technique nose tackle. So, for the most part, in the BCS era of college football, if you lost 1 game, you're hosed. You're not going to win the national title. And then they bring the playoff in the picture. And then there was a little bit. And again, I think it also matters how the season shapes up. Like if there's, when the college football playoff was at 4 teams, you lose 2 games, you're probably hosed. And it seems like in this year's 12 team, and I think they're going to expand the playoff even further, so that'll continue to change. But it seems like in today's rendition of college football this season, that it's possible. Again, it's still early. But again, I said this on yesterday's show. November's football is fun because things are starting to crystallize a little bit on the outlook of these NFL and pro seasons, but it's still murky. A lot can still happen. But the discussion here is that in college football, teams could potentially lose only 3 games and miss out on this 12-team field. The job of the committee is more important than ever, and I'm not sure how they're qualifying people to be on this college football playoff committee. I shouldn't see barely any women on this committee. Is that sexist? I don't care. Okay? You never played. You can't analyze if you didn't play. Sorry. Is that too crass? Is that too harsh? I don't give a fuck. Okay, so why does conference matter more than record? Should it? Conference definitely matters more than record. It's not even a question. And I'm not talking about a conference like the Big Ten with 2 elite players. I'm talking about conferences like the SEC that have team after team that could play with anybody. There's 6 to 8 teams in the SEC, I think, that could play with anybody in America. You cannot say, I mean, look, I think Georgia blows out Oregon. I think Bama beats Oregon. I think Ole Miss beats Oregon. A&M beats the shit out of Oregon. And the same with USC, the same with Washington, the same with Iowa, and probably the same with Michigan. They got a true freshman quarterback. Sorry. I think Vandy could probably play with all 5 of those teams. Maybe Texas. Maybe Oklahoma. I'm coming around to claiming Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC. It's hard to even... Missouri could play with any of those teams. You know, LSU kind of sucks. I'm not going to throw LSU in that discussion. They're in a tough spot as a program. But hell yeah, conference matters more than record. Absolutely. And all the Big Ten people would be like, no, record matters more than conference. And it's like, no, dude. No. If you're in the SEC and you got 3 lost teams and you're looking at who could get in the playoff, you're telling me that you wouldn't put a 3-loss SEC team in the playoff before you put a 3-loss Big Ten team? Come on. Is this really a discussion? Okay. Scenario number 2. This is another potential college football playoff disaster. Big 12 lottery. Let's say Texas Tech beats BYU this weekend. Then Utah goes 10-2. BYU and Cincinnati. BYU or Cincinnati wins the Big 12 championship? What the hell? See, I told you guys these AI outlines, they can be dicey. What does that mean? It says Texas Tech wins versus BYU. So Texas Tech beats BYU. Then Utah goes 10-2. BYU, I don't understand that. Sorry, y'all. Could there be 3 Big 12 teams in the playoff? It says unprecedented. Well, who would it be? It would be Texas Tech, BYU, then Utah. I feel like Cincinnati being there is an error. Let's check. I haven't watched Cincinnati play all year. Cincinnati Bearcats football. What's their record? They're 3rd in the Big 12. What's their record? Cincinnati is 7-2. So they could win the Big 12 then. That wasn't an error. Okay. So again, let's read this one more time. If Texas Tech beats BYU, then Utah goes 10-2. BYU or Cincinnati wins the championship for the Big 12. And so if you got a great Texas Tech team that doesn't win the Big 12, do they make it in? Potentially. I believe in the eye test too with the playoff. You know, we just debated conference versus record. Those are 2 important things. But also, I think you got to watch film if you're on this committee. You have to watch film. Is the team playing their best ball late in the year? That's an eye test thing. You can tell emotionally, spiritually, physically on film, if you know football, whether a team's got a certain kind of juice about them. It's called the eye test. This is very important to me in terms of picking teams that deserve to go to the playoff. If a team is playing their best football late in the year and you can see it, they deserve to make the playoff. And in order to know that, you got to watch film. If you're on this committee, if there's anyone on this committee that isn't watching film and I find out about it, I'm going to find them and take their job. Okay. So there could be 3 Big 12 teams in the playoff, unprecedented. Or there could be just one. and that would be BYU if they won out and went undefeated. Could the Big 12 get more bids than the Big 10? Wow. All those Washington fans crying on Twitter would be real quiet if that happened. No, they'd probably be even louder and talk about Big 12 bias. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Scenario 3, SEC flood. Disaster for non-SEC fans. Heaven for me, because it's the best football, man. You got all SEC teams in the college football playoff. That is cinema. It's cinema. Okay? If Texas, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt all went out, you'd have 7 SEC teams with 1 to 2 losses. I guess that's assuming all else goes according to plan throughout the SEC. 2-loss team might get in, especially Texas. I wonder why, especially Texas. You might have to leave out Power 5 conference champions. How pissed would people be, bro? But again, look, if you got a team in the best conference, which is SEC, and they've got 2 losses or less, and they pass the eye test on film, they're playing their best football late in the year, then hell yeah, you forego a conference champ. I think the eye test might be the most important metric of all in grading a college football playoff appearance, grading an appearance. You get what I'm saying. If people know football and let's say somebody says, "Hey, I know ball. I'm going to be on the college football playoff committee." You better watch film. You better be watching film. And I'm not talking about broadcast replays. I'm talking about all 22 film. I know coaches have access to college film and nobody else really gets access to it, but college football playoff committee members better get access to that Axios college film that coaches have access to. I'm just saying that's something we need to figure out and make sure is going on. And if it's not going on, I'm going to holler about it on this show every day until somebody fucking hears it. They better be watching film. The eye test is the most important part of all this. When you're looking at teams that deserve to make the college football playoff, you got to be watching the film. Is this team playing their best ball late in the year? That's the question you ask when watching film. And it's easy to answer if you know football and you're doing the work. Okay. Hot take. Here's the hot take here. The playoffs should expand. It is expanding. This is stupid. I'm reading an outline. We're leaving out deserving teams because of geography. No. I don't endorse that take at all. No. Geography. Just get the fuck out of here. Broncos have Coleman Sports, and I knew that my title and thumbnail will probably solicit some folks in the chat. That's why I made it that. He says Broncos have the best defense of all time. All time, not sure, but they're playing great. They've won 7 in a row on the Broncos defense's back. I thought the Raiders defense played great last night, but it's really easy to play great on defense when you got 30-mile-an-hour winds. I'll just say that. Yeah. He says lead the league in punts and penalty yards. Yeah. People say it was an ugly game last night. I enjoy was it a defensive game or was it just a windy game? Again, I think you should play football regardless of external conditions. You should find a way to do your job. And so to say the defenses prevailed because it was a windy game, that might be objectively true, but also if we're offensive players, we got to find a way to make this work. And that's how great teams operate. And Denver won. So it's just, we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Do I think Denver will beat Kansas City? No. I don't know. I don't think have they played yet this year? Denver, Kansas City? I'm not sure. But I'd love to see Denver win the West over. I think Kansas City's in third place in the West still, aren't they? And these media outlets are talking about they're the best team in football. They're not even second in their division, according to what I heard on TNF last night. I think it's Denver 1, LA Chargers 2, Kansas City 3, Vegas 4, right? In the AFC West. Okay. Upset alerts. We talked about this game yesterday and how we thought this is a dangerous game for Indiana. Indiana at Penn State. Indiana's 14.5-point favorites. Look, the trend of Vegas favorites not covering the spread has continued. Not just in pro football, but in college football as well, I believe. I don't want to spread misinformation, but that's what I'm understanding. Penn State crowd, big factor. We covered that yesterday. If beat at halftime, fans might leave for traffic concerns. Let's see. So, like, if Penn State's getting their ass kicked, I guess, at halftime, they might leave. And that might affect the environment. Indiana, number 1 in third down conversion percentage in college football. Penn State, 103rd in third down defense. Damn. The issue, my outline says, is backup quarterback for Penn State is allegedly a wide receiver. Holy shit. I remember Kentucky had to do that one time. They had Lynn Bowden, who I didn't think really worked out in the NFL, but he was a great talent, played receiver. And Kentucky had, I think this was like, oh man, I can't remember. Maybe he was 15, 16. I was definitely in college while this happened, but Kentucky had a great receiver, Lynn Bowden. And he made it to the NFL, but he didn't really have a great career. I'm sure he made a lot of money, which is great. But Lynn Bowden had to start at quarterback for Kentucky in either 15 or 16, and like he literally couldn't really throw the ball. It was like wildcat every play. It was crazy. And Kentucky won some games. I remember. I think they beat Florida with him at quarterback. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. So Penn State's facing that similar situation here. They got a receiver at backup quarterback. That's pretty dicey. So there's a lot of dicey factors for Penn State against a powerful Indiana team. But nonetheless, Indiana goes on the road to Penn State. Will they make sure that this place is packed, even if they're getting beat at halftime? Georgia at Mississippi State. Mississippi State. I mean, I don't even know if that's worth talking about. But it could be. It's an SEC game. Mississippi State's on the bottom barrel of the SEC this year. We thought they were playing pretty well earlier in the year, but they've dropped a couple. Yeah, Brandon Walker going. I've been getting YouTube shorts of Brandon Walker, this Barstool guy that went to Mississippi State, I guess. And John Gruden goes on the podcast. He goes, Which coach is on your hot seat this week, Brandon? Huh? Which coach is getting fired this week, Brandon? And he goes in on him, and he was telling Brandon how he was the reason that Mississippi State lost at home to Texas or whatever, because he said him being there on the sideline pissed Texas off or whatever. It's pretty funny. Yeah, and the setup here, I guess, let's see. Wake Forest at Virginia. Man. Could Wake Forest go to Charlottesville and do it? Virginia's got a good team. I don't think that's going to happen. Virginia's 8-1, undefeated in their conference. People aren't really talking about the ACC as much in terms of like dominant conferences, who's getting screwed, this and the other. It's really Big Ten fans that are bitching and moaning about SEC bias, and that's about it. Wake Forest coming off a 42-7 loss. They got fucking body bagged. That says if Wake can flip the turnover margin, it's a game. Well, yeah, man. Yeah, if you can flip the turnover margin, you have a chance to win ball games. I didn't know that. The fuck? Virginia, first time competing for the playoff, might be tight. And Wake has nothing to lose. So does the nothing to lose team ever actually matter, or is it just a narrative? Yes, nothing to lose teams actually matter if the superior team in the game is not a real great team. If Virginia is a pretender, they will lose to Wake Forest. If they are the real deal, They will find a way to neutralize a team with nothing to lose. Simple as that. All right, what else do we got? I mean, we could talk about some of this stuff on Monday maybe, but we probably won't. There's stuff about coaching. Look, Nick Saban's not going anywhere. There's a Nick Saban at LSU segment. We got, I guess it is a Friday, and we have to preview our games. We're already at an hour. We've had a good show today. We've had a nice, robust show, and I got to head to jiu-jitsu here in about 10 minutes, 20 minutes. God forbid we got a Madden stream. That won't happen right now. Sorry, y'all. But we did a Madden stream yesterday for the first time in a couple weeks, and it was a lot of fun. We get people in there. We get people turning out. And some of them are turning into podcast listeners. Not that you guys care. Yeah, and then there's more trade implications. Sauce Gardner. Carlie Irsay Gordon is again making headlines today because it came out that she told Chris Ballard, the GM, who I used to make my coffee next to when I worked there, she told Chris Ballard that, do we want to put a Band-Aid on it, or do we want to fix the problem now for the long term, in talking about going and getting Sauce? So I guess they felt like they were insufficient at corner, and they feel like Sauce is a long-term solution, so they're willing to forego one in the hand for two in the bush. Literally, two in the bush. So she's making headlines about it leaking that she said that to Chris Ballard. I guess maybe she told the media that. Look, if you're a generation, if you're a trust fund owner in the NFL, we talked about nepotism yesterday. If you're a trust fund owner in the NFL and you inherited a team, the blueprint to doing it right now is Carlie Irsay Gordon. That's what other people are saying, and I agree with it. And I feel like I have the credibility to speak on that because I was in a building with her for a year working. And she always made eye contact, smiled, said, hey, asked me how I was doing. And I got scared, boy. I was scared because she's hot and she was my boss. You know what I mean? So what else, man? We're at about an hour and 2 minutes. We still got a lot of shit here on the, man, there's a lot. We had a good outline today, and this is what I'm talking about. Some days when we're able to get closed captions on some of these other shows, transcribe them, because you can't transcribe a video without closed captions. And some days these videos from other shows, they don't have them. And so we have to kind of come up with our own shit to talk about based on our own research. And not that this isn't research. You take the transcription and you ask AI very specifically, hey, fine-tune these discussions for me by topic so that I make sure I'm not missing anything in the football world. And so on days we got to outline, man, it's very robust. I don't even think we still got hella stuff in here, and we're an hour. It's crazy. Anything else because once we move on to the next show, I probably won't talk about any of this stuff. Interesting. Hot take. The portal has made college football better as a product, but worse as a sport. The chaos is entertaining, but nobody knows who's actually good. I like that you don't know who's actually good. I think that keeps it interesting. I think where the transfer portal and NIL have negatively affected football is the mentality of the kids. And it might be a great opportunity for us to see who's really great and who's able to block out all the noise, all the money, all the clout, and still show up and do their job like a lunch pail guy. I think the transfer portal and NIL might be an opportunity for us to actually, for the best players mentally, physically, spiritually, to rise, for the cream to rise that way. Because then you'll be able to clearly see who's not affected by the money, who's not affected by the fame, who continues to show up and put in work regardless of what's going on outside of them. and the cream will rise. And I think it'll help kids be more ready for the NFL, like Bo Nix. In his second year in the league, his team's 8-2. Say what you want about his play last night, but they're winning, and he's at the most important position. The guy spent 9 years in college, and so on his second year in the pros, he looks like he might just be a guy already. Sophomore slump discussions. Looming large. I feel like I had that here in my outline. Let's see if we got anything else. Okay, sophomore slump. Here it is. C.J. Stroud, Jaden Daniels was obviously elite last year, and he's struggling in year 2. And the question arises, is it fame? Is his body type too small? Now, that's something you can fix. You can get him in the weight room. But I'll say something. When I got to college as a linebacker, I weighed 215 pounds. I moved really good at that weight. I was told that I needed to get to 240 pounds. And I did. And it took away all my speed. I could not cover anybody. Could play as strong as an ox, play well in the, it was really mostly practice. Let's be real here. But practice well in the box, hit hard in the box. But when you got me out in space and my job was to cover somebody, it was hard for me at 240 pounds to cover somebody. So you think about that with someone like Jaden Daniels. If you pack weight on him, is he a different player all of a sudden? Is he too frail as he is to play quarterback in the NFL? Will he keep getting hurt? They had good news come back for him. I saw they weren't putting Jaden Daniels on IR, and that the MRI came back good on his knee. So that's good news. It's good news. He's got a chance to maybe make some noise down the stretch. But this Commanders team, it just the tone of them just looks a bit different. I think they've lost some really tough games. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've got a ton more stuff, but I think we've had a great show. It is time for me to start getting ready to go to jiu-jitsu, get the weekend started. Damn. Normally we preview games on Friday. Let's do a quick. Damn, I'm a masochist, ain't I? NFL. No, I love being with you guys. It's not painful staying on here. Week 10. You got Falcons at Colts. Browns at Jets. Saints at Panthers. Browns beat the Jets on the road. Indy gets their mojo back with another win at home. So I got the Colts against the Falcons. I got the Browns against the Jets. Saints go to Charlotte to play the Panthers. Give me Carolina. Patriots on the road in Tampa. Give me Tampa at home against a thriving New England team. You got Ravens at Vikings. Give me the Ravens. Even though Minnesota, it is a tough place to play. I would love to see Baltimore lose that. You know what? Give me the Vikings against the Ravens, actually. Give me the Vikings. Bills at Dolphins. Buffalo wins. Giants at Bears. Bears win that one. Giants season continues to spiral. Jaguars at Texans. Give me Jacksonville. Cardinals at Seahawks. Give me Seattle. Lions at Commanders. Give me Detroit. Rams at 49ers. Give me the Rams. And then Sunday Night Football, you got Pittsburgh at L.A. Give me the Chargers at home. Even though the Steelers fans will travel, it'll feel like a Steelers home game. That L.A. crowd, I've ranted about them before. Oh, I have better things to do than go watch a bunch of sweaty men play football. I need to celebrate the victory of Zoran Mamdani in New York. That's L.A. people, if you didn't catch on to that. That's why they don't go to Chargers games, and Steelers fans will fill up that building. So you know what? Give me the Steelers in that, actually, against the Chargers. And then Monday Night Football, you got Eagles at Packers. Give me the Eagles. All right, it has been a hell of a show, and I've enjoyed every second of it. We're sending you guys off into the weekend funky, fresh, informed, ready to take on any type of football debauchery that you choose to embark on this weekend. And with that, make sure you subscribe, motherfuckers. Make sure you hit that like button, motherfuckers. And we'll keep it popping. We're here Monday through Friday, every weekday, 6-ish Eastern. Love y'all. Thank you.